The message is the same. Francophonie is not something we celebrate on a single day. We must defend the French language every day. In Canada, in Francophone communities from coast to coast, the French language is much more than just a means of communication. It is also a vector of identity and pride. It behooves us to make constant and sincere gestures to protect the French language. Francophonie is a valuable legacy, but also a collective responsibility. Let us continue to speak French, to work in French, and to help our language thrive with pride, today, tomorrow, and every day.
L'honorable député de Bourassa.
The honorable member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, on March 20th every year, we celebrate International Francophonie Day with more than 320 million speakers throughout the world. The French language is a bridge between cultures and a source of international cooperation. In Canada, especially in Quebec, French is at the very heart of our identity. It shapes our culture, it shapes our history, and it shapes our ability to thrive as a community. As the MP for Bourassa, I am proud to represent a community where the French language is vivid, diverse, and part of the households of extremely varied group of citizens. Today, let's celebrate the French language, but let us all remember that we have a collective responsibility to protect and promote it. Mr. Speaker, this is not just a matter of protecting a specific set of words. It's about protecting a way of laughing, of living, and experiencing the world with nuance and dignity.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has lost over 100,000 jobs in the first 2 months this year. Canada is the only shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, the highest household debt, and the highest food inflation in the G7. The Liberal Prime Minister can't just blame global factors when the other members of the G7 are dealing with the same issues. These are problems the Liberals have created, and this Liberal Prime Minister has worsened. He is running the biggest deficit and the highest spending this country has ever seen outside of COVID, and the results are disappearing jobs and a shrinking economy. He failed to unlock growth by killing anti-energy laws and red tape. He failed to approve a single new pipeline or major project, and he failed to secure a trade deal by his promised date, July 2025. The Liberals need to get out of the way so Canadians can get back to work. Mr. Speaker, if this is the Prime Minister's version of economic success, Canadians truly cannot afford to see his version of failure.
The honourable member for Burnaby Central.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to celebrate the upcoming 95th birthday of Johnny Varani, a respected elder in Burnaby Central and the uncle of former Minister of Justice, Arif Varani. Born in Uganda, his life is a testament to resilience, service, and the lasting contribution of seniors to our communities. His legacy shows that our country is strengthened by the wisdom and dedication of those who came before us. I also want to recognize a group of high school students visiting from British Columbia. Their presence in Ottawa demonstrates that our democracy thrives when young people engage, question, and participate. At a time when anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, racism, discrimination, and misogyny are rising in Canada, Canada will look to young people to raise their voice, lead with purpose, and bring people together. It is in this partnership between generations, where the wisdom of our seniors meets the courage of our youth, that we find our strengths. We will build a Canada of tomorrow, united, with every generation shaping and moving forward as one. Merci.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
108,000 full-time jobs were lost in the last month alone. We are losing jobs at speeds not seen in a generation. We have the only shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, the highest household debt, and the highest food inflation in the G7. The Minister of AI blamed job numbers on the war in Iran. The Prime Minister says they're not so bad. People have had enough Liberal excuses. They want more Canadian jobs. So will Liberals finally get out of the way so Canadians can get back to work?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Obviously, we'll be answering all questions, but first of all, we want to express our profound sadness and that of the entire House of Commons following the incident that took place earlier today at LaGuardia Airport in New York involving an Air Canada Express aircraft. On behalf of the Government of Canada, we express our sincere condolences to the families and friends of the victims, those who died, and everyone who is concerned about those who were injured. As Minister of Transport, I know that it's important that every person working in transport come home at the end of every day. That's what we want. And so in the face of this tragedy, we are searching for answers. Canada is searching for answers. I've spoken with my American counterpart, and Canadians are in LaGuardia today to get to the bottom of this accident.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Conservatives share our condolences as well. Now, on the issue of jobs, 108,000 full-time jobs and almost 50,000 youth jobs lost in 1 month alone. This Liberal Prime Minister is responsible for generational deficits and generational job losses. Development blocked, not a single major project approved. Now, this fall, I announced the Conservative Jobs Plan. Unleashing the economy, fixing immigration, fixing training, building homes where the jobs are. After a year of failure, why won't they simply adopt the plan that we've already put forward?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course, we will be answering all the questions from the opposition today, but I first want to express the sincere condolences and shock, frankly, of myself, and I know all members of this House, after the incident that occurred earlier today or late last evening at LaGuardia Airport involving an Air Canada Express aircraft. On behalf of the Government of Canada, I offer my sincere condolences to the families of the victims and obviously all of those many people who will have been shaken and affected by this incident. I have spoken with Secretary Duffy, my American counterpart. We will be continuing to work together to get to the bottom, to find the answers that Canadians are going to be looking for, Mr. Speaker, and we will get those answers for them.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Nobody, not even this Liberal government, can sugarcoat the findings in the most recent jobs report. It revealed the largest collapse in full-time jobs since COVID, over 100,000 jobs lost, and a youth unemployment rate of 14% now. TD called it weak, CIBC called it very bad, and BMO called it simply brutal. But it's more than just words. It's empty bank accounts, it's skipped meals, and it's fleeting hope. We need action now. Will the government commit today to adopting our Conservative jobs plan to get the economy back on track and people back to work?
Yeah, way to go,
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, it is shameful to see the Conservative talking down the Canadian economy. Canadians are proud people, Mr. Speaker. We have the most educated workforce in the world, Mr. Speaker. We build ships, we build cars, we build planes. We have critical minerals, we have energy. We are the only G7 country which have a trade agreement with all the other G7 nations. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're proud of our workers, we're proud of our industry, and we believe in Canada.
That was a terrible answer, Buckley. The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
The only thing that's shameful is an answer like that from somebody who has been here for 10 years, who has created a homegrown problem with their out-of-control taxes, their out-of-control spending, and mountains of red tape. And now we have the only shrinking economy in the G7, the second highest unemployment rate, the highest household debt, and the highest food inflation, and everyone else is dealing with the tariff war too. So when will this government admit that their policies are killing jobs and reverse course before they kill even more next month?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, it's almost as if they don't understand that we're in a tariff war, that there is a war in the Middle East that's threatening Canadians' economies right now. And Mr. Speaker, we've been preparing to support workers in these turbulent times. And yet again, they vote against every measure we put forward for workers. But that's not what the Ontario government is saying. I was so proud to sign the Canada-Ontario Workforce Tariff Response, and in fact, we got support from Vic Fideli, Mike Harris, the Premier himself. Mr. Speaker, provinces are working with the federal government to take care of workers. All we hear from that side is voting against workers time and again.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable, Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, a year ago, this Liberal Prime Minister promised a deal with the Trump administration to create jobs and to revive the Canadian economy. Well, today, the Liberal facade is crumbling. More than 108,000 Canadians lost their jobs since the beginning of 2026. We have the second worst unemployment rate in the G7, the worst food inflation in the G7. Still no agreement on tariffs. Canadian steel mills like Algoma are closing their doors. After a year, the Liberal wreckage of the last 10 years continues. When are the Liberals going to cut back their taxes, their policies that are hurting development, and their bureaucracy that Canadians can get to work? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the problem is questions like that when Canadians are standing together. Canadians are standing up for Canada. On this side of the House, we're proud of our country, Mr. Speaker. Canada has one of the most educated workforces in the world, Mr. Speaker. We are proud to build ships, planes, cars. We are proud to work with Algoma, which is still there, Mr. Speaker. We are proud to have critical minerals. We are proud to have energy. We are proud to be the only G7 country that has a free trade agreement with all the other G7 countries. Mr. Speaker, instead of criticizing Canada, they should stand up like us and be proud of this country, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Is the member for York have a question? The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable, Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that if you listen to him, he's not proud of the results of 10 years of Liberal government when it comes to the economy. They can blame everyone they want. They're blaming everyone except themselves. Mr. Speaker, all G7 countries are facing the same challenges, but why is Canada the only one with a shrinking economy? Canada has the worst performance of any G7 country. These are problems created by who? By the Liberals. And this Liberal Prime Minister has made these problems worse. 57,000 jobs lost in Quebec in February, over 108,000 across Canada. Why have the Liberals given Canada the worst economy? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to correct the record. Algoma isn't closing its doors, and that's an insult to all the workers there, over 2,000 working right now at Algoma. He maybe should have done his homework. One thing is clear, we are going to bring jobs back to Algoma. But, Mr. Speaker, what I want to say to all Canadians who are watching us right now is we have a good plan. We have launched our defence industrial strategy. That's 125,000 new jobs in Canada. We're investing in our Canadian Armed Forces. We're going to create jobs. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, what's happening today at the Supreme Court is the ultimate constitutional power grab. Canada isn't happy just to attack the secular nature of the Quebec state by challenging Bill 21. It wants to prevent Quebec from passing any law that displeases Ottawa by restricting the use of the notwithstanding clause. The Liberals are exploiting the highest court in the land to permanently weaken Quebec and the democratic will of Quebecers. Do they realize that this would be the greatest setback for Quebec's economy in 45 years? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before starting, I'd like to thank my colleague for that question. As the member knows very well, it is essential for the federal government to defend the Constitution. Now, the case that's before the Supreme Court is an appropriate place to debate this issue. It's not appropriate for me as Attorney General to have this debate here in the House of Commons. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, what's happening at the Supreme Court transcends political allegiances. Yes, secularism is at stake today with Bill 21, but there's also the notwithstanding clause, and that goes much further. The notwithstanding clause has allowed us to require that signs in Quebec be in French. It's allowed us to pass no fewer than 41 laws across Quebec throughout history that are all tied to our identity and to social progress. Do the Liberals realize that attacking the notwithstanding clause means attacking everything that makes Quebec what it is? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she knows very well, our position is clear, and it always has been. We are the party of the Charter. We will defend the Charter. We'll defend the Charter in front of the Supreme Court. As the Minister of Justice has said, the question is before the Supreme Court, and the fate of Bill 21 will be decided by the courts. It would be inappropriate for us to comment at this time. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speakers, the Liberals are attacking secularism by challenging Bill 21 at the Supreme Court, but it goes much further when they talk about limiting the use of the notwithstanding clause. They want to give themselves the right to oversee all of Quebec's laws. That amounts to placing Quebec's democracy under the guardianship of elected officials and judges from English Canada. The notwithstanding clause is the compromise that allowed the Charter to be adopted in 1982. There wouldn't even be a Charter without that clause. Will today's Liberals come to their senses and respect the compromise signed by the Liberals of 1982? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, it's shocking to see that the Bloc Québécois is trying to avoid the real question that all Quebecers are concerned with, certainly the Quebecers who live in this region. It's the economic apocalypse that the leader of the provincial equivalent of the Bloc Québécois wants to inflict on Quebecers. And we have to speak clearly to people who work in the public sector across Ottawa and Canada. It's shameful what's happening. The Blocs should be standing up for those Quebecers here in this region who are helping us build Canada.
A year of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians got more rhetoric, not results. Instead of energy security and thousands of new jobs, Liberals blocked pipelines. Instead of investment and growth, Liberals drove out more than $500 billion worth of it. And Liberals liberaled. Canada finished 2025 with a shrinking economy, the second most highest unemployment, and the highest household debt and food inflation in the G7. Can someone over there explain why Canada has the second worst unemployment and the only shrinking economy in the G7?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Speaker, as the member opposite well knows, oil and gas production in Canada is up 34% in the last 10 years. That is compared to globally only up 6%. This is record production levels we're seeing. We're seeing new infrastructure come on all of the time. Obviously Trans Mountain, obviously we're now talking about optimizing that. But we got Silesums, we got Taylor to Gordon, we got NextGen and Denison's uranium mines. We got LNG projects from Cedar to Woodfibre to Tilbury to LNG Canada 2. We are building and we will continue to build. We welcome them to get on board.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
That guy from Alberta should be ashamed of himself for supporting the same government that keeps blocking pipelines and other energy projects. That's why 100,000 jobs were lost in the last month. Most of those were in the private sector. And other G7 countries' economies are growing. Canada's is shrinking. We all are facing the same global factors. It's because his Prime Minister keeps raising the deficits and his taxes. Why don't the Liberals put their taxes, policies, and deficits out of work so Canadians can get back to work?
I know he meant that honourable member. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I feel sad for the members opposite who look through the good news to find the bad news every day and bring their misery to this chamber. But here's the reality. Here is the absolute reality. There has never been a better time to be in energy in Alberta. There has never been a better time to be in energy in Canada. We are building strong, and we welcome you to get on board.
The honourable member for Newmarket Aurora has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, according to Statistics Canada, over 100,000 jobs have been lost in the first 2 months of this year. And today, Algoma Steel will be laying off 1,000 workers. These are families that are now left wondering how they're going to pay their bills or put food on their table. After years of warning signs, this Liberal government continues to impose policies that weaken our competitiveness and cost Canadian jobs. So will the Liberals explain why they have given Canada the second worst unemployment in the G7 and the only shrinking economy in the G7?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
It's a tough day for many families in Sault Ste. Marie and many workers at Algoma. But we will bring back these jobs, and we're working on a plan to make sure that the workers get their jobs back. I've been to Sault Ste. Marie 2 times. I've met with the Algoma CEO. I'm meeting with him again. They have 2 interesting projects. The first one on the defense front, the second one on infrastructure. We will build homes in Canada using steel from Algoma, and we will build ships and planes and vehicles across the country made with Algoma steel as well.
The honourable member for Newmarket, Aurora.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to taking responsibility, this Liberal government has a long record of making excuses and very few results. After 10 years, Canadians are carrying record household debt, and they're facing the highest food inflation in the G7 and living in the only shrinking economy in the G7. These are the consequences of policy choices that have driven up costs and have made it harder for businesses to grow and create those jobs. So when will the Prime Minister cut his taxes, slash red tape, and empower our businesses so Canadians can get back to work?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, in the past week alone, we've announced a $40 billion plan to transform Canada's North and Arctic with $10 billion in major projects, a $900 million investment to support drone development and quantum technologies, a $200 million investment in Canada's space launch capabilities in Atlantic Canada, a $300 million contract for new modular assault rifles, and over $1.4 billion for domestic ammunition production in Ontario and Quebec. Mr. Speaker, our focus is on delivering security, sovereignty, and thousands of jobs.
The honourable member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Algoma Steel is laying off 1,000 workers today who will join the 108,000 full-time workers who also lost their jobs in February. The Liberal government can't blame outside factors. The rest of the world exists in the same global economy, but only Canada has a shrinking economy among G7 countries. So when will the Liberals get out of the way, get rid of their taxes, anti-development laws, and bureaucracies that are killing Canadian jobs and let Canadians get back to work?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
I have a lot of time and respect for my colleagues, but when he says that we cannot blame anything linked to what is happening in the world to what is happening in Algoma, I think he doesn't understand the 50% tariffs by Washington against Algoma workers, because that is the reality. Now, we've been in solution mode. We've said that for the 1,000 workers at Algoma, we would be there to support them and also find jobs. We're also in discussion with Tenaris, an important steel company in Sault Ste. Marie. We'll create jobs at Tenaris as well.
The honourable member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government has spent the last 10 years setting the stage for today's rising unemployment. The industrial carbon tax, anti-development laws, bloated bureaucracy, staggering debt and deficits, failure to approve a single pipeline, failure to build any major projects like they promised, and their failure to secure a trade deal, which they also promised to do, are all killing Canadian jobs. So when will this Liberal government at least stop making things worse?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, let me bring a bit of facts in this discussion. Fact, Canada has the lowest net debt to GDP in the G7. Fact number 2, Mr. Speaker, Canada is one of the lowest deficit to GDP in the G7. Fact 3, Mr. Speaker, Canada has the second fastest growing economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker. Fact 4, we've attracted more foreign direct investment lately than in the last 18 years. Mr. Speaker, we should celebrate Canada, celebrate our worker, celebrate our industry. Mr. Speaker, Canada will build the strongest economy in the G7.
The honourable member for Kenora-Kiiwetinoong.
Canada has already lost 100,000 jobs this year, and today Algoma Steel is laying off 1,000 workers. The Liberal Prime Minister can't just blame global factors, because Canada has the only shrinking economy, the second highest unemployment, the highest food inflation, and the highest household debt in the G7, Mr. Speaker. These are problems the Liberals created, and this Liberal Prime Minister has made worse by blocking growth with anti-energy laws, failing to approve a single new major project, and breaking his promise to secure a trade deal last year. So, Mr. Speaker, when will the Liberals get their taxes and policies out of the way so that Canadians can get back to work?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, I was proud to be in Sault Ste. Marie not 10 days ago to meet with the United Steelworkers, to meet with representatives of Algoma Steel, who are proud to be deploying the most efficient and largest electric arc furnace in North America, who are going to be able to produce steel for our ships, for our homes, for applications all over the country, and surprise, surprise, also for a high-speed rail network, Mr. Speaker.
Wow.
This is important work. This is going to be done by the men and women of the United Steelworkers in Sault Ste. Marie, in Algoma.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. A dramatic turn of events, Mr. Speaker, in the Curum software case. For weeks, the Liberals have been insisting that there are no cost overruns, even though costs have climbed from $1.75 to $6.6 billion. On Friday, the federal government admitted to the media that the $6.6 billion bill is far from final. The Liberals forgot to factor in operating costs. According to an expert, those could cost an additional $660 million per year. That's a bit more than one Saclic scandal every year. When will there be a public independent inquiry, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister of Jobs.
Waiting to start their OAS is declining. In fact, Canadians expect a modern benefit delivery system that makes sure that their benefits are available when they need them. 7.7 million Canadians were transferred to the new system without any problem, and those that are waiting are largely paper applications. We have a plan and a process to get through those, and if anyone is in urgent need, we can get their money to them within 24 to 48 hours.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. You know, Mr. Speaker, recognizing that there's a problem is part of the solution. It's always a disaster when Ottawa tries to run an IT project. The Auditor General has shown in the report today that it might not be over this problem by replacing the disastrous Phoenix software with a new system called Dayforce. The Liberals are repeating the same mistakes. The Auditor General has revealed that they're rushing the 3-year transition, in addition to ignoring certain expenses. They're cutting corners again, even after cutting corners with Phoenix, Curum, ArriveCan, and many more. When will there be a public independent inquiry to put an end to these fiascos? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. In terms of the Auditor General's report on the transition to a modern pay system, Dayforce, in this case, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Auditor General for her report where she notes that the transition is going well, that progress is being made. She has recommendations that we accept, but she's also said, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians are going to find value in what's been invested in this new system. And unlike what was done with Phoenix, we have learned from the mistakes of the past. We are going to put it in place gradually to make sure that the transition goes well and that our public servants get the right pay at the right time. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the government's economic record is disastrous. 100,000 jobs lost in 2 months, and the announcement today that 1,000 workers at Algoma Steel are being laid off, Mr. Speaker. While our G7 partners are moving forward, Canada is falling behind. How have the Liberals managed to make Canada the country with the second highest unemployment rate and the only shrinking economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker? How have they done it? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, obviously our thoughts are with the workers who are affected at Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie. I've had the opportunity to meet with the workers, with their union, with the leadership as well at Algoma Steel. We are looking for solutions because we know, unlike what the Conservatives are saying, that these job losses are caused by the tariff war. So despite everything, we are helping Algoma get new business projects that are going to bring those jobs back to Algoma Steel. We're convinced that we'll be able to do it in the coming months. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Well, I would invite them to take off their rose-colored glasses, Mr. Speaker. It's their taxes, their bureaucracy, and their anti-energy laws that are suffocating our businesses, Mr. Speaker. And that means that food inflation in Canada is the highest in the G7, and Canadian families are the most burdened by debt. When will the Liberals roll back their taxes and their red tape so that Canadian businesses can breathe again and so that Canadians can finally get back to work? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, it's as if the Conservative colleagues were living on a desert island, Mr. Speaker. The reality is that Canada, like all other G7 countries, is facing a trade war, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we have put in place an ambitious plan to make Canada's economy the strongest in the G7, Mr. Speaker. As I said earlier, unlike what my colleague has said, Canada is in an enviable position in the G7. We're investing in our businesses, we're investing in our workers, we're investing to make Canada the most resilient economy in the G7. The Honourable Member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I hear my colleagues say that we have the best position in the G7, but Mr. Speaker, since January 1st of this year, more than 100,000 jobs have been lost in Canada. Today, 1,000 additional jobs have been lost, the highest food inflation and the only shrinking economy in the G7. A very high unemployment rate and the highest level of household debt. That's the result of this Liberal government. Canadians are worried and they're suffocating. When will the Liberals take action by cutting excessive taxes and red tape so that Canadians can finally breathe and live better? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, he's talking about action. Acting, Mr. Speaker, means putting in place the Major Projects Office and putting in place construction projects in Contrecoeur in Montreal, for example. Last week, we made an announcement, almost $100 million, that's going to create 1,300 new jobs, Mr. Speaker. That's action. Action is reuniting the Canadian economy to increase productivity across the country. Action, Mr. Speaker, on affordability is cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. And while this government is acting, well, on the other side of the House, they're just obstructing our efforts day after day.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, on March 12, 2026, in Montreal, Seung-Woo Kim, 55, was stabbed to death in his own convenience store, his dépanneur, in broad daylight, by Xavier Gelatli, an individual known for years for his violent behavior and severe mental health issues. As early as 2016, authorities warned that he was at risk of killing someone if released. Despite this, after serving his sentence, he was released without adequate supervision. In the Eustacio Galeazzi case, it was the parole board's risk assessment that came under scrutiny. In both cases, warnings existed. Why were they ignored?
Public safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me just first extend my condolences to the families that are impacted by this heinous act. And let me also assure my colleagues that this was an decision of the Independent Parole Board. And what we will do is strengthen, Mr. Speaker, in the bills that are before the House today, we will strengthen bail, Mr. Speaker. We will strengthen sentencing. We will strengthen the rights of victims. And we will work with all parties to ensure the increased safety and security of all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, in 2017, we had a special committee at Public Safety Committee to study this case, Eustacio Galeazzi, who was released and killed Marilyn Lévesque in Quebec. And today, years later, here we are with the same problem. Here's an individual who should not have been released, should not be out free, and killed a man in his own dépanneur. Why nothing? Why has nothing been done over the last 7 or 8 years? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, let me just express my condolences to those who are impacted by this heinous act. But let me also assure Canadians that we are working to strengthen bail laws, Mr. Speaker, strengthen sentencing, strengthening victims' rights, as well as to ensure that those who are impacted by violence are supported through the number of bills that we have, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Dorval, Lachine, La Salle.
Canadians deserve to live in communities that are safe, secure, and free from gun violence. Our government made a clear commitment to remove assault-style firearms from our communities. Les armes à feu comme
Firearms, like the AR-15, designed to kill human beings, have no place in Canada. As the March 31st deadline for submitting claims approaches, can the government provide Canadians with an update on the assault-style firearms compensation program? Thank you. The Honourable Secretary of State for Nature.
I would like to thank my colleague from Dorval, Lachine, La Salle for an important question. The assault-style firearms compensation program is a success. Over 51,000 firearms have already been declared. Yes. And governors still have 8 days to submit their declaration. Mr. Speaker, instead of spreading disinformation, the members of the opposition should help their constituents get the compensation they are entitled to while they still can.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The last decade of this Liberal government has been absolutely devastating for the Canadian auto industry. We've seen auto production go from 2 million vehicles a year down to 1.2 million. And even worse, this year we've seen auto exports decline by 55%. This is devastating for auto workers. Plants have closed. Many have lost their livelihoods. The Liberal plan for the auto sector seems to be managed decline. So instead of managed decline, why don't they join us, get tariff-free access to the United States by supporting the Conservative Renewed Auto Pact?
Great idea. L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
The Honourable Minister.
A lot of things in there that doesn't make sense. First and foremost, every time we're investing in the auto sector, they talk about it and they put it down. What I mean by that is we have a new auto plant and they're late. They've been late and too late. What I mean by that also, Mr. Speaker, is they think that we should just basically wait for Washington to change their mind or to go back to the 1960s with the Auto Pact. We have a plan, we'll protect workers and we'll attract investors.
Honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
I don't know what's more troubling, the fact that she doesn't recognize that a decline from 2 million vehicles a year to 1.2 million is devastating, or she talks about her plan, which includes exporting vehicles to Europe. Mr. Speaker, more vehicles were stolen in Canada last year, including 2 of the Justice Ministers, than were exported to Europe last year. We actually have a plan. It's a plan to get tariff-free access to the United States. It will boost auto production. It is supported by Unifor Local 222 said, finally a common sense plan to restore auto production. Why don't they get on board and stop with this managed decline?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, what they have is not even a plan, it's an auto pitch. Because the reality, when you look at it, is they didn't even consult Unifor, the very workers affected by the plant closures. And you know what, Mr. Speaker, Unifor has said that their ideas will permanently threaten the future of Brampton and Ingersoll plants, which doesn't make sense. Mr. Speaker, there are good news in the auto sector. The investment by Toyota and the production at Toyota and Honda is up. We're opening new battery facilities, 3,000 new jobs, and we'll make sure also that the biggest investment by
The honourable member for Oshawa.
Last week I was privileged to walk the line at Oshawa GM assembly plant speaking with auto workers directly, and I could see firsthand the pride, skill, and dedication that built Oshawa's auto industry. But they are the ones paying the price for this Liberal government's inaction. Uncertainty is making it harder for them to plan their futures and count on stable livelihoods. We need to protect their jobs and grow Canada's auto industry. Will the Liberals finally stand up for Oshawa and all auto workers and support our Conservative plan for a tariff-free auto pact?
The honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for Oshawa auto workers and my colleagues, but the reality is she should talk to her colleague from Oshawa North who went to Washington and talked down Canadians, saying that we're having a hissy fit regarding the trade war and not defending the auto workers and not even defending the investments that this government is making in them. Mr. Speaker, we have an auto plan. It's a good one. She should also talk to Unifor because this union, which represents also the workers in Oshawa, is against their plan.
The honourable member for Oshawa.
It'd be awfully nice if we saw this Liberal government do something. I know firsthand Unifor members love our Conservative auto strategy. Maybe it's time they spoke with folks on the assembly line. Since 2015, auto production in Canada has been cut in half. It is down another 7.8% under this Liberal Prime Minister. At a time when unjustified American tariffs threaten our sector, the Liberals have failed to table a plan that would persuade Americans to remove tariffs on Canadian goods. Will they support our Conservative plan to double auto production through a tariff-free auto pass?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know what workers that member was speaking with, but it sure wasn't the president of Unifor Local 200 who said the problem is that he went ahead and did not consult with Unifor, and it's very, very frustrating to see the things that he put into place knowing we would be in big trouble. But the president went on to say, John Dagnolo, he's ecstatic over the auto measures, which are so important to our community when he was referring to the Liberal plan. He said it's important as time goes by and the market starts to turn that we give Canadians the option, and that's what the federal government's done with this policy. So if she wants to know what workers think, she should talk to the union.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised 1,000 new police officers in their last election campaign. Now talk about a broken promise, because just today we learned that not only have they not hired those 1,000 officers, they are down 3,400 police officers. That means we are down over 4,000 police officers from what they told us we would have in the last election. Wow. At a time when crime is skyrocketing, how can Canadians feel safe when these Liberals can't even hire police officers?
The Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me be very clear. As part of the platform last year, we committed to hiring 1,000 new CBSA as well as 1,000 new RCMP personnel. We've already started on that process, Mr. Speaker. We had the first cohort of CBSA officers that graduated from Rigaud, to which the member opposite was in fact invited to the graduation. We will be rolling out the first cohort of RCMP personnel over the next coming weeks, Mr. Speaker, as the new fiscal year begins.
Member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about the new cohort that's being hired. Is that part of the 1,000 that were promised, or the 3,400 that we lost, Mr. Speaker? The Liberals can't distinguish between the two. Let's look at the stats. Violent crime up 55%, failure. Sexual assault up 76%, failure. Gun crime up 130%, failure. Extortion up 330%, failure. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that's going down are the number of police officers in Canada. Why can't these Liberals get their acts together and hire the police they promised?
The Honourable Minister.
Let's talk about the facts, Mr. Speaker. 1,000 new CBSA officers, 1,000 new RCMP personnel, $1.3 billion for border security. Bill C-12, Mr. Speaker, the Strong Borders Act. We have Bill C-14, which will strengthen bail as well as sentencing, Mr. Speaker. We have Bill C-16 that will strengthen victims' rights. That's the record of this government, Mr. Speaker. We're going to be making sure that every Canadian feels safe in their communities. That's the work that this government's been doing since April 28th of last year.
The Honourable Member for Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these Liberals talk about hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers. They can't even keep up with losses. The Liberals are failing to recruit, train, and retain the police we need to protect our communities. In rural Canada, where I represent, police are stretched to the breaking point. They can't keep up with the wave of violent crime that these Liberals have unleashed. The Auditor General has now reported that under this Liberals' watch, the RCMP is short 3,400 officers, and the gap is continuing to grow. This Liberal Prime Minister and his party made big promises to Canadians. They promised 1,000 new officers, but they are yet again failing to deliver any results. It's time for these Liberals to stop promising, start delivering. Why won't they?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I find it interesting when you dig into the plans that each of the parties put forward to identify what their priorities really are. The Conservatives are criticizing us for failing to deliver on 1,000 new RCMP officers, which the Minister said are going to be graduating over the next number of weeks. What's fascinating, Mr. Speaker, guess how many number of RCMP officers the Conservatives committed to hiring during the last electoral campaign? The answer is zero. Mr. Speaker, we are supporting the front line not only with making new hires, but also giving tools to law enforcement that they have asked for to keep our communities safe. The Conservatives have opposed us at every turn. Despite their opposition, we are going to work with law enforcement. They'll keep communities safe.
The Honourable Member for Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals can try to distract and make Canadians look away from their absolute failure. The Auditor General report is damning. 3,400 RCMP officers short. This Liberal government is continuing to fail to train and retain the officers we need to protect our communities. And it's at it couldn't come at a worse possible time after 10 years of that Justice Minister's failure to toughen up our justice system. There is a wave of violent crime rushing across our country, and our police are completely burnt out. Why is this Liberal Prime Minister failing to live up to his promises to strengthen law enforcement and protect our communities?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague has accused us of trying to distract. Let me be clear. I have no interest in distracting from the fact that the Conservatives campaign on commitment to hire 0 new RCMP officers. I have no intention to distract from the fact that their leader has called the RCMP leadership despicable and called upon the justice system to jail his political opponents. Mr. Speaker, our legislative agenda has gained endorsements to the Canadian Association of the Chiefs of Police, the Canadian Police Association, the National Police Federation, the Ontario Police Association, the new Glasgow Regional Police Force for what it's worth. Mr. Speaker, we will work with law enforcement to keep our communities safe. If the Conservatives finally decide to cooperate, I'd be...
The Honourable Member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal Prime Minister promised safety with 1,000 new RCMP officers, but that's just typical banker spin. The Auditor General is now reporting that there are 3,400 officer spots shortage with the RCMP. Recruitment is failing. Training seats are going unfilled, and after a year-long process, only 6% of applicants are making it through. With crime rising at alarming levels, when will this Liberal Prime Minister stop his illusions and bring boots to the ground and protect Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me just say the RCMP, the first 1,000 of those we're going to be hiring will be coming out very shortly, Mr. Speaker. We've also started to roll out the 1,000 new CBSA officers. What will be important, I think, for members opposite to reflect on is their commitment to the RCMP, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we support the RCMP. We support law enforcement. We've introduced Bill C-22 on lawful access that will give law enforcement the necessary tools that they've been asking for to ensure that the safety and security of Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Labrador.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's north is undergoing profound and rapid change. Climate change and increasing activity from foreign actors are reshaping the region in real time. In Labrador, we understand well what it means to move from reliance to resilience, to ensure our north remains strong, secure, and defended. Given our government's plan to defend the Arctic and the North, can the Minister of National Defence update this House on how these generational investments will strengthen Canada's North? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Speaker, my colleague is right. It's up to us to defend and secure Canada from existing and emerging threats. That's why we're moving forward with a $35 billion plan to defend, build and transform Canada's northern and Arctic region. This includes $32 billion for our forward and deployed operating bases, including at 5 Wing Goose Bay in Labrador. Mr. Speaker, we're making major generational investments that matter to build Canada strong and to keep Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, there's nearly 3 million non-citizens in Canada on expired or expiring work permits, and Canadian kids can't find jobs. Today, in a report that shocked no one, the Auditor General found a whopping 150,000 cases of foreign student permit fraud. Worst, we found out that the minister is only investigating 2,000 of them while allocating resources to purchase an entire hotel for asylum seekers.
Wow.
Unbelievable. What a dumpster fire. Is the minister content putting fraudsters in the driver's seat of Canada's immigration system?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that member's performance there. With regards to the Auditor General, we welcome that report, and we agree that strong oversight helps improve the international student program. We will improve how cases are flagged and prioritized, and will consistently follow up on potentially non-compliant students. Our focus is on identifying organizers of coordinated fraud and those who attempt to deceive the system. We take integrity of all our programs very seriously. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
By the minister's response, I think she thinks this is a joke. It's not. Canada has an unemployment crisis, and there are millions of non-citizens who don't have a legal reason to be here, who are competing for Canadian kids' jobs. And today, the Auditor General found out that there were 150,000 cases of fraudulent student permits. The minister's own team doesn't think she's up to the job, and I agree. Why does she still have her job?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we welcome the work of the Auditor General. We are focused on identifying fraudulent actors and organizers. We are improving prioritization of cases where we are constantly tracking students who do not comply with our rules. Mr. Speaker, we take the integrity of all of our programs seriously.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I actually think the immigration system is worse now than it was under Justin Trudeau, and that's quite a feat. And speaking of former immigration ministers, 2 of the previous ones said issuing well over 1 million foreign student permits was good for our economy. And I don't think international students are taking away jobs from people. But today we found out from Blacklocks that the employment ministry knew for certain that that's exactly what was happening. All of these people fail upward in cabinet. Nothing has changed, and it needs to. Why are these failed immigration ministers still in cabinet, in charge of important files, and failing?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I really feel sad for that member who always sees her cup half empty. We have a plan. We have a system that is working. Both TD, StatsCan, Parliamentary Budget Officer, CMHC all commented that our plan is working. Over the last year, we've reduced temporary resident arrivals by more than a half. We brought the asylum numbers down by a third. We refocused on economic immigration like never before. Canadians see that this new government has a plan, and the plan is working, and that's what we will continue to do.
L'honorable député d'Orléans.
The Honourable Member for Orleans. Mr. Speaker, in Ontario, there is a strong Francophone community, and I'm so proud to rise in this House to celebrate French in the context of the International Day for the Francophonie. It's important to strengthen the Francophonie and to attract and retain Francophone talent in Ontario and through Canada. Can the Minister of Immigration tell us what our government is doing to better support Francophone communities throughout the country? The Honourable Minister for Immigration and Refugees. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleague for her excellent work. Last week, during the International Day for the Francophonie, I announced new funds for Francophone immigration. With these investments, we are strengthening the capacity of Francophone communities in a minority setting to attract and retain qualified workers. That is how we will reach our objectives and ensure that French thrives throughout this country.
Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been caught misleading Canadians. After his trip to Beijing, he claimed human rights violations and foreign interference were discussed in meetings with CCP leaders. However, government documents I requested revealed that neither of these topics were discussed in any of the bilateral meetings. But today, the Prime Minister is trying to change his story yet again. Canadians want to know, why can't this Prime Minister stick to his story?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary return in question was submitted in error and will be corrected at the earliest opportunity. The Prime Minister has been clear while in Beijing. Canada's position on areas of concern, including human rights, were raised proactively at multiple levels, Mr. Speaker, including by the Prime Minister and his counterparts. I also raised the matter with my counterpart while in China, along with other matters. And I want to emphasize that Canada is a world leader in advancing human rights and the rules-based international order. Thank you.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
After the last atmospheric river and flooding in the Sumas Prairie, the Liberals promised support. But those were just empty words. Last week, there were 2 atmospheric rivers, but the Liberal government continues to delay action on flood protection in this nationally significant corridor for food production. Ottawa has yet to deliver the millions needed for flood mitigation plans, leaving people, infrastructure, and farmland at risk. When will the Prime Minister deliver the funding needed to protect this vital economic corridor?
Hear, hear. Excellent.
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, I can advise that I have been in contact with officials in Abbotsford and the Fraser Valley region since December of last year. I've attended meetings with a number of my counterparts there, and we will be taking active steps with Abbotsford to talk about flood mitigation strategies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And that concludes question period for today. We'll take a moment to allow members to leave quietly. It
is my duty to lay before the House, pursuant to Section 536 of the Canada Elections Act, the report of the Chief Electoral Officer of Canada on the 2025 by-elections. Pursuant to Standing Order 1083A, this report is deemed permanently referred to the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs.
I call on the Parliamentary Secretary to the Leader of the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 36.8A, I have the honour to table in both official languages the government's response